Hey everybody. Okay, we're back. Week 3, beginning Photoshop class. I want to review the homework. Let's take a look at. Dan. I'm going to take a look at yours. Um, David, did you upload homework at all?
I did not because I had the malfunction. I'll get to it this week to
Okay.
catch up.
All right. Sure. Then just put it up.
Tonight I'm without any Photoshop.
Okay. No worries. Just put it up there in the folder, and then if you like, I'll be happy to review it next week. All right. Photoshop's coming up. We're going to take a look at Dan's, and I guess we'll go ahead and take a look at Faye's as well. All right, let's go open it up. All right, let's give it up. There we go. Ooh, all right. So, Dan, do uh you want to talk about your piece here?
What would you like me to tell you?
Well, what just tell me basically your concept, what you're trying to do. Did you have any challenges with it? If so, what were the challenges?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. I did a sky replacement first.
Okay. Did you use the new
So it
sky
was
replacement filter?
say again.
Did you use the sky replacement filter, or just I see what you did. You eliminated it.
Right.
Cool.
So then after I did the sky replacement, made some adjustments to that, and then I added a moon into the sky.
All right.
And although it's wonky, I wanted the clouds to look like they were kind of in front of the moon as well.
Okay. We'll address that.
And then I added a couple different sets of buffalo down there in the foreground.
Okay. I'm gonna go down here in the foreground. I think this is the buff. That's the moon. Let me name this layer. So I'm gonna rename it moon.
That's fine.
Okay. And then the buffalo, I'm going to assume is way up here, right up there.
There's two different sets, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom on into here. Cool. All right,
And they're
so
rough.
okay, very cool. All right, let's see. Okay, I see. That's your grass there. Got it. So you're using some of the grass to overlay. Now here is the problem, and I'm going to show you how to solve it. Is your grass has this hard edge, right?
Right.
I hit that command click on your layer there, so you can see the outline
Right.
of your shape. So what you did was you took, you have the right idea, just the wrong execution. And let me show you what I mean. And this is something I haven't covered yet, but I think
Right.
I'll do so now. This layer is your grass. Now I'm going to just temporarily turn that layer off, and I'm going to make a brand new layer right above it, okay? I'm going to
Sure.
do essentially the same thing that you did, but in a little bit more of a sophisticated way. Okay, so I'm going to put the grass in its own layer, right? But I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take a look at the grass, and I'm going to kind of get a feeling for the shape and look of the grass. Now, Photoshop gives you some brushes, but I'm going to basically create my own brush. Now, I'm going to show you guys how. Actually, let me go ahead and bring up a new document. I'm going to go File Menu, New. I'm just going to my standard 5 by 5 inch file size that I use as a test. let me pull this on out of here. And I just pulled the document just out of the little tab area here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush, hit the B key for the brush. And I'm going to ensure that the foreground color is solid black. Now, by default, I'm going to use a standard soft edge brush, as you see here. A nice soft edge round brush. Now, when I hit the B key for the brush, I get the options for that brush. I'm going to make sure it's 100% opacity that I'm going to put down. And I'm also going to go to this little the folder symbol here. It's the fourth icon from the left hand side on your options bar. I'm going to click it, and it's going to give me, now we get heavily into brushes in the intermediate class. Okay, intermediate class, we're going to be using a lot of brushes. We're going to be dealing with a lot of layer masking, adjustment layers, and channels. So I'm going to make a custom brush here. And I want my brush to be, I don't want transfer, which is going to be, creating, softness based on how I paint. So if I go to my brush here, let's see, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And if I start to paint with black, right? If I paint softly, I'm using a Wacom pen. And in the intermediate Photoshop class, it's titled Intermediate with the Wacom tablet. Let me undo this real quick. I'm gonna make a brand new layer. Put it on top. I'm gonna paint that layer. I'm gonna hit the Command A, which selects all, so that if I can play with my brush like so, right? I can hit the Delete key on the keyboard, and it deletes the contents within the layer. That's why I select all, because if I don't hit Select All, or Command or Control A, that entire layer would be deleted. So I don't want to utilize pressure sensitivity, so I'm going to turn off the transfer. Now we're going to get more into this for the intermediate class, but now I can just draw, and I'm going to get a solid black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a custom brush. Okay. Let's turn off. There's the size of my brush. I'm going to make sure it's a solid edge. I'm going to bring it down real small like this. Okay. And I'm going to just draw a kind of a brush. I'm going to modify this brush a little bit. In that I turned off the transfer for the opacity, but what I'm going to do with the shape dynamics, I'm going to tell it to control the size of the brush based on pin pressure. All right, so just bear with me here, because I'm not going to teach you guys the Wacom tablet in the beginning class. I'm just showing you what you can do. Now, if you don't have the Wacom tablet, then what you want to do is you want to base it on your, let's see, it's a fade. Is it fade? Yeah, it's fade, where you're fading based on the amount of pixels you give it. All right, maybe we'll do that. Maybe right now it does this, right? It's fading based on 25 pixels. If I go to 100 pixels and draw it up, it goes a little longer. If I go to something like, let's do 200 pixels, and this will work with the mouse, right? So there's my blade of grass, or basically my bush. I wanted to go a little bit longer, so let's do 300 pixels. All right, and I'm gonna do, that's a little more comfortable. I'm gonna go about, we'll say 350 pixels. And I'm going to see it's fading off. So now I got a nice little comfortable distance I can play with here. All right, so I'm going to make a brush based on this technique. So I'm going to hit delete, and I'm going to start making my brush. Now, brushes are made with black information. And I'm going to do this here. I'm probably going to get some of the grass to kind of cross over like this. Another piece may come up like this, and maybe get some of those shorter pieces. I don't want that. I really do want that tapering. Maybe we'll go down here and go, okay, and I'll do some 100 pixel fades and do some shorter, something like this. And that's going to be my brush. It's on a single layer. That's going to be my brush. Select your rectangular selection tool. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections and masks are exactly the same thing. So grab the selection tool, and I'm going to select this shape. Now I'm going to define that as a brush. I don't need the brush settings anymore. So I'm going to save this. So go my hamburger menu up here, new brush preset. Okay, why is it being ornery with me here? I'm not in the brush menu. There we go. Duh. I was in the selection menu. New brush preset. I can call this one grass. And click OK. Now we're going to be getting heavily into brushes, like I said in intermediate class. So once it's selected, it's black information. Photoshop's going to identify this as a brush. So we come right over here to our edit menu. Come on down here, define brush preset. And there it is. And click OK. There's my brush. All right, here's where it gets fun. I'm hit select A. So right now I can start tapping like this. So it's very predictable. You don't want the brush predictable. So I'm going to come over here to the brush menu again, this little fourth icon from the left hand side, and it's showing me right here what the brush looks like. Now I want to modify this. So under the shape dynamics, I have jitter. I want to change the brush size over the length of the stroke. Okay. All right. Now what I would like to do is I'm going to change the angle a little bit. So if I come down toward the middle of the screen, I've got the angle jitter. I can just pull it. I can rotate it, but what I want to do is I want just a slight movement. So jitter simply means change the angle or change the size over the length of the stroke. So I'm going to start to do something there. See that there? See those edges? All right, now what else can we change? This is something where we can probably use opacity. Now I go over to the transfer, click on the word transfer. Now, and I'm going to use my pen pressure. Now, for you, you're not going to have, if you don't have a Wacom pen, none of this is going to show for you. It's not going to work for you. But if you're using a mouse, what you're going to do is you're going to control your opacity by going up here to the opacity slider on the options bar and changing it manually to something that allows you to build up your technique. I'm going to tell Photoshop to use pen pressure and pen pressure for both opacity and flow. And then I'm going to save my brush, new brush preset. So I created a brush. Based on just looking at the grass, right? Just looking at the grass to see what it looks like, and then just drawing it down. Of course, I can change how I'm painting to get something like this. So we can use this brush for fur too, right? Possibly. All right, so I'm going to close this out. I have my brush. I'm going to get rid of this document. I don't need it anymore. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do... Yeah, what was that?
Oh, just David here, real quick. On the pen stroke, darker, heavier pressure, lighter.
Well, I'm using a Wacom pen. Are you familiar
Yes.
with the Wacom pen?
Yeah, I have one. So
Okay.
Are you controlling the dark to light?
Right,
by
with the pressure of the
you're
pen.
applying?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
That's correct. And again, I don't want to get into this for the beginning class, okay? I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. I just want to show you that there's a more sophisticated way to apply. Now, like I said, if you don't have a Wacom pen, and I suspect that Dan may not have a Wacom pen, you can use your mouse and manually
I
come
do.
up. Oh, you do? Okay, good. Well, then this is helpful then. Great, great, fantastic. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the stamp tool. And when we get to the retouching part of the class, I'm going to go more extensively into the stamp tool. But I'm going to go to the stamp tool, which is the fourth tool down, or the fifth tool down on the right hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click and get the clone stamp tool. And what you want to do is I want to clone stamp this grass on top of the buffalo. All right, now the key here is this. In your options bar, whenever you select any of your tools here, right, your option bar changes. In the option bar, by default, you will have current layer selected. What you want is all layers selected, because we're going to take what's visible and put it into this blank area that I'm in, that blank layer that I'm in. So now I can see you roughly, and if I turn on your original file, you try to cover up the bottom portions of the animal, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample. I'm going to hit the Alt key, which is I'm going to get this little symbol there, which is allowing me to target. It's my target symbol. I'm going to go target the grass right down here. Click and hold and release, and now I am going to make sure that I'm going to right click, which gives me my brush menu, and I'm going to get that brand new brush that I created, which is always the very last brush right down there. Because when I went to the stamp tool, it defaulted back to the last brush that was used when I used the stamp tool. So there's my brush. I'll do it once again. Alt, get my target. I'm going to grab this grass right down here, and then I'm going to gently start to paint up in here. Now, with my walking pen, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to go back to my brush properties. It's not, that is not what I want. Let's see. Let me right click. I've got the proper brush, but I want to modify this brush here. So I'm going to go back to the brush properties here. Go to my shape dynamics. And for the rotation, the angle, I've got angle put on there, but I want to also control the angle of the brush. So I'm going to select, you're going to select pen tilt, right? I have a special pen, which is the art pen, which allows me to use rotation, but you're going to select pen tilt. I'm going to go hamburger menu, new brush, and click OK. So when I right click again, you get to see I have a new brush now that I just created. But this one is going to have my tilt applied. So now I can tilt the pen and play with this angle. I'm going to want to bring the size of the brush down. And as I paint, I'm going to change the angle here, right? And start to paint the grass on top. Go down to the legs. Make sure I sample down here this nice little fresh grass here. And you're going to find you're going to have to constantly resample. And I'm going to rotate a little bit, getting the grass, because grass isn't just moving in one direction. Right? This is kind of I'm being a little sloppy about this, but constantly sample. There we go. So I'm changing the direction of the grass. And you've got to do that. You don't want it looking, too consistent. So change that direction. Change that direction of the grass. Right? So now I'm doing the same thing you did, but it's a little more sophisticated now. Does that make sense? Dan?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. You might want to change up the look of your brush to match some of these weeds here. But I'll just go ahead and sample this here too, and I'm going to bring the brush down in size, because this is going to be, all right. You might get a little bit of that brush coming up here, but you'll get a lot of it coming up over here. See how I'm changing the angle of the brush because the wind is blowing the weeds and the animal is kind of interrupting them. See, so it becomes more convincing. All right, so the better your brush, the better job you're gonna do. All right, your moon. There's a little.
Before you, Steve, before you move away from that, finally, if you go in close to the little calf,
Yeah.
will you cover this in a future class? It still looks, the outline is so harsh.
Yep.
It still looks placed in there.
Yeah.
So are you going to deal with that?
Oh yeah, we're gonna deal with that when cutting out people with hair.
Okay.
All right, because your calf does look cut out. Also, your calf is a really bad resolution. It's blurry, so that any fur that was on there looks like it's been like smudged together. So you want to be careful with the images that you use. You want to make sure that they're
Right.
that they're
Well,
yeah.
as I said, it was a rough.
Okay.
You demanded 5 different things added in, so I just put 5 things in.
No. You don't blame the teacher. All right.
Not a blame.
I heard that. Well, it's
Not a
your
blame.
fault. You
five-
said put in
5
10.
additions, so I added 5 additions.
Ouch.
I'm just messing with you. Listen, if I was in the classroom, I would call the student on this. It's kind of, wait a minute, what's up with your resolution here, right? Or as a professional, as a one professional to another, I would have to call you on this. It's like, well, use a different image. You know what you could use? Here's something you can use. This will help you out quite a bit. Right over here. It's free for professional and commercial use. It's called cgimages.com. www.cgimages. Oh gosh, I forgot the name of the darn site. Oh god, what is it? Oh my gosh, what is the name of the damn site? I can't believe I forgot the site. I know it so well. Hold on a minute. Free images. Royalty free stock images. It should have come up real quick here. It is not Pixabay. Oh, come on, Steven. Not Getty.
Well, when you
Yeah.
find it, just include it in the.
Yeah, I'll find. Well, I'll remember it. I know it so well. I use it every semester in class. I don't know why. I'm just tired, I guess. It's a site. All right, I'll remember later. Anyways, I'll bring up the site. We can get free images, good quality images. It's free, but for the medium and low quality, and you can search it. Royalty free images. All right. So yeah, just be careful your animals there, or anything you put in. Now the lighting, I like what you've got here. I love this background. And then there's your sky. Now I'm taking a look at this. The problem is your moon. The proper way to deal with the moon. And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember where. Let's see. Let me turn this on. Okay, that's your grass. Let me go to that moon up here. Is this the moon? Okay, no, that's the cloud for the moon. I'm going to take that away. This is the moon. Okay. All right. All you need to do here, and I'm trying to figure out why when I turn off the moon, I'm seeing this little dot here. See that? Where is that dot? Is it here? Yeah, it's in there.
Because I adjusted the sky when I layered over top of it.
Okay, gotcha. All right, now what you want to do is this. Hit the V key for the move tool. I'm going to move the moon on over, right? Basically, think about this. The sky is overlaying that moon, right? Let's see if I have another portion of the sky that might work better. Yeah, I'm going to bring it over here. Just so I can make my point. The moon will be behind the mountains. That's correct. So you did this correctly. But you want to create that effect that the clouds are coming through the moon. One way to do it is to just bring down its opacity so it looks like the moon is coming in from behind the clouds. Because the detail of the clouds are actually going to be showing, overlaying that moon, because the clouds are overlaying the moon in reality. There's other effects, and we're going to be getting much stronger into this in the intermediate class too, which is utilizing your layer blend modes, right? So we can play with the layer blend modes here. You know, in addition to utilizing the opacity to make it look like
Steve, could you also, when you have the sky and then you're adding the moon, could you layer the clouds in a way that you could slip the moon in between the layers?
yes, and that's going to be utilizing your brushes. That your brushes are going to help, or if you have other clouds that you have masked out. Let's see. Hold on just a minute. Give me a second. For CG artists.
I suppose in bringing in the sky, you could bring in, say, two skies, one darker clouds like this and then the fiery orange in layers, and then put the moon in between.
Okay, say that again.
Well, so if, for instance, in bringing in the sky, you had two layers of sky, one the darker clouds and one layer the fiery, and then in a third layer you would take the moon and place it in between the two,
Right.
and then maybe work some brush magic,
Right.
and get that
Well, if
kind
you
of
saw all the
layered
layers that
cloud.
are on this, that's exactly what I did.
Right. Let's get in closer here. I can't believe this. All right, let me get in. Oh, there we go. That's it. All right, here's his layers here. This is moon. There's his sky. Well, all right, there's a sky behind it. That's correct. And then, of course, his mountain landscape is in front of it here. So he did the right thing in terms of.
Then, if you go to the next layer up,
Okay.
that's where you have where it says layer 1 there.
Come on, get this thing slick. Stop
Right
jumping
there.
on me. Right there, layer 1.
Above the levels adjustment.
Above the layers of that right there. That one there. Yes.
Nope. Scroll down.
Scroll down.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. Layer 1. Got it.
That one.
There. That's what that was for. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here. Let's take a look at this.
So I took portions of the clouds, not the entire image, but just portions of the clouds to
Right.
cover up that moon
Right. Right. Okay.
and darken it up.
That's right. Not bad, but your edges are too hard. That's the problem.
Sure.
So,
Because we didn't learn that yet.
right. But you've been using masks, right? No, you haven't. You've been using adjustment layers. Okay, you haven't used the mask yet. All right.
Nope.
I'm going to show you a better way to handle this. So just hold the thought here. But he's got the right idea.
Sure.
You've got the right idea. I'm thinking you could use the eraser tool in there to kind of soften those edges. And I'm just trying to teach this from a beginning point, a beginning approach. So go to my soft edge brush. All right. And start to kind of. I'm moving my brush around very quickly, but gently touching on the edges to soften that up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we get more into the painting techniques of Photoshop that's going to blend your image together more effectively in the intermediate class. But there's much better ways of handling this. But you've done it. But you have the right idea. But what I'm seeing here is that as an artist and a technician, you're thinking. All right, you're kind of thinking your process through, which is good. Now, here's the last thing I want to kind of address here is the lighting is
Well,
wrong.
now, Steve,
Yes,
just before you leave that point, you were talking about, oh, well, he's just using adjustment layers as opposed to masks.
I'm not going to talk
So
about
there's a
adjustment layer.
better way
I'm not.
of doing that with masks?
I'm not going to talk about that yet. That's for the next class.
Oh, okay.
All right, I want to keep the foundations going here. Now, what I am going to address is your lighting, which is what we're going to really be getting into today.
Okay.
Your foreground is green. Your background, your lighting is orange. It's a sunset lighting. In that sense, your whole scene should be orange, not green. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just use this image to kind of start our class off, the official part of the class here, and that we want to match, get this stuff to look like it was shot with a single photograph, because right now it doesn't. And it doesn't because of your lighting. So this is what I would like you both to be very well aware of for your next assignments that you do, is pay attention that not only your selections, I'm looking at your selections overall, they look pretty damn good. See, and if David brought his, we'll be able to see, how good he is too, but, he didn't bring his homework even after he had an extra week off. So,
Man, have you got that ruler?
I was working my ass off in Death Valley, buddy. So you had plenty of time. Just messing with you.
I heard I got the Photomax class and or session, and you were talking about that.
The Adobe Max.
Your butt off out there.
Yeah, it was fun. We were up at.
You remember on Saturday you had the Photomax. You had Ben.
Who?
No, I'm sorry. The guy from Photomax. Photomatics.
Oh, Photomax. Yeah. Right. All right. Don't.
And you were talking about the class.
Yeah. Hey, don't sidetrack me now. We got to keep going here. So stay focused.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Now we're going to change the lighting. I'll show you some quick ways to handle this. One way to handle this is using the color balance tool. He has two layers here. I'm going to turn one off and on. It looks like they're both exactly the same. Essentially. Yes, I don't really need this one down here. That one's not doing anything at all. I just turned it off. So I'm going to go to the top one. And we're going to look at the color. We're going to look at what the color should be doing. So if your main light source is going to be orange, most of the scene is going to be colored orange. So I'm going to utilize your image menu, adjustments. Why? Because I'm going to make a tonal or color adjustment to an image. All right. And I'm going to go access color balance. There. Now, the beautiful thing about color balance, I want to pull it over to the side so we can see the image, is that it allows you to manipulate your red, green, and blue, or yellow, magenta, and cyan pixels in the shadows, midtones, and highlights independently. All right. Now, this is kind of the beginner approach to color balance your photograph, which is effective. It works, but there are better ways. All right, so we look at the image, and first of all, I'm looking at the overall color of the image. Should be kind of more of a reddish orange. So what I'll do is I'm going to take the cyan or the red slider. If I pull it close to cyan, it's going toward its opposite of red. Right. So this is how you're learning your opposites in colors and color balancing your photograph. Red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow. Cyan is the opposite of red, magenta is the opposite of green, and yellow is the opposite of blue. So if I pull it over to the reds, look at what's starting to happen. It's starting to almost look like that mountainscape should be in that scene. If I turn off your brain, well, let me actually work this image first before I do anything else. This should also have a little more yellow in it, in my opinion, because it's going to be kind of a yellowish, reddish, orangish. So I'm going to add a little more yellow, but I'm targeting the mid-tone sections first. So add a little more yellow overall. Not too much because it's going to get that yellow. I just want just a teensy bit. In fact, I might want to add a little more red to match what's going on up there in that sky. All right. So now, if I look into the shaded areas are normally going to be the opposite color of your light. Your light's going to be warm. Your shaded areas are going to be cooler. It's going to be the opposite of your warm color, which means it's going to be cyanish blue in the shadows. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to target the shadows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the reds towards cyan in the shadows only. See that? It's starting to look like you're getting a little more contrast going in there. I'm going to pull out some of the yellow out of the shadows. See that? It's like you're gaining contrast, but we're not manipulating contrast. We're manipulating the color. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my highlights because we need to take on this orangish yellowish effect. So I'm going to add that red to this highlight. See that? Look at that. Just to the highlights of the image, I'm adding that red. Right now it's starting to look right. Add a little more yellow to the highlights right about there. I'm going to add a little more red. How does that look? Okay.
More better.
That's more better. Yep. So now watch. Your brain is a magnificent color balancing tool. Ever notice that during the fires that we had that really orange and reddish scene? You get up in the morning, you look outside, and you got that orangish reddish color out there. But then after looking at it for a few minutes, that orangish reddish tends to go away. Because your brain color balances out. And your brain is such a magnificent color balancing tool that you've forgotten what this image originally looked like already. So if I turn off the preview, before, after, before, after. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's. Did I go over?
Now, when you did that, did it merely change the color balance on the layer that was selected?
That's absolutely correct. Remember that's why layers are important, so we can separate each object and manipulate them independently from the entire scene. So if I turn this off, I'm gonna turn that bottom one on it below. So that's before, turning it off, and after. Before and after. Did I go over levels with you guys yet? Yes, no?
No.
Okay, good. All right. I want to make sure. All right, that's what we're going to go over today.
I think you did, actually.
Did I?
Oh,
Yeah, that was the portion where you brought out the color contrast on that painting.
On the painting.
And then you also brought out the horse sculpture against the.
Oh, yes, I did. I did cover. Okay, so that's in the recordings. Good. I just want to make sure I
Which is why I
covered
have
it.
a levels layer in here, or levels
Right.
adjustment in here.
Got it. Okay, so you've got that recorded. All right, let me go over to Bridge real quick. Let's go over to my favorites and go over to my student work files. And let's see, I should have something in here. I don't think I want to use color. Well, maybe I do want to use color. Yeah, we'll play with this. We want to isolate a color. We want to alter that color to something different. So we're going to isolate color. So I've got an image I think is going to work, but I want to check something else out. All right.
Those aren't in mine.
Let's see. Are you on Google Drive? It should be inside a folder called Color on your Google Drive. I know these are in there.
Yeah, they're not the one I downloaded. So they must have been.
All right. Well, hold on. I will go to Google Drive right now.
Yeah, they're there.
They are there. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. They should have been. 'Cause these are kind of some old images. Here, let's just use this phone booth. This is kind of a fun one. This one right here. I'm gonna open this up. Let me double click it. Okay, we'll use this phone book for instance. I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I want to make a change here. Now, the key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selection. Selections and master are exact same thing. I want to isolate that booth. The proper way to do it, in my opinion, is that we select the booth and we place it onto its own layer. But I'm going to forego that for now. I'm going to say we want to make a quick little color change. And I don't want to have to, add layers to this. So I'm going to go over here to the select menu. Why? Because I'm going to modify a selection. I'm going to go down here to the middle to color range. And when I click color range, look at what's happening here. I'm able to target any single color in this image and use that to make a selection. So if I take my cursor and currently look at my fuzziness slider locations, usually by default it's over to the left, and by default you have the single eyedropper targeted here. If I click anywhere in this image, it's going to select the color that's selected is the color that's going to be in highlights. Everywhere in black means it's masked out. Okay, white reveals and black conceals. So if I go and click on the red booth, it's targeting the red. But there is no one color of red in here, is there? There's all these variation of shades of red and luminescence of red on this building. So whichever one I select, that's the one that's going to be highlighted here inside of this mask preview. Now what I want to do is I want to select more reds. Now I could go to the fuzziness slider and expand the selection like this. But I want more control, so I'm going to keep it down low. What you're going to do is next to your first eyedropper on the right hand side is your plus eyedropper. That means you add more colors on it as you drag over. So I've already targeted a single color of red. Now I'm going to select some other colors of red, and it's going to add it to it. Now I can just select the red and just slide and drag it across. You get to see the whole booth is starting to be targeted. All right? I'm dragging it across, only the reds. I'm not going to touch the whites or the grays or this brown down here. Only the reds. And as I drag it across, I'm pretty confident that that whole phone booth has been targeted. If I want to expand my selection, I can go to the fuzziness slider and expand it over like so. But you're seeing now it's starting to grab in the background back there, right? So I want to be careful how far I go. So I'm going to keep it down low and rely on that plus eyedropper to add the reds. Now when I'm done, I'm going to click OK. And now my reds are selected. So at this point, if you want to fine tune this, we could hit the Q key for the quick mask mode, right? My booth is red, and my quick mask is red. So I'm going to change the color of the quick mask. Right down here, on the very bottom left-hand corner of the toolbar, just make sure you have your double toolbar selected. Bottom left-hand corner, I'm going to double click on it, and I can go change the color here. By clicking on this, I'm going to select green, click OK, and then hit the Q key for quick mask again. See? Now you can see just how well it actually selected. So from here, you go to your brush, hit your B for your brush. I'm gonna go to a harsher edge, and then I'm gonna come here and paint with black. So black adds to your mask, white discards from your mask. So this area in here, this little piece on the side here, I'm getting a little closer. Hit the X key to switch the foreground and background color. White, well, okay, what's going on here? That's weird. Oh, so no, what's this? Adobe switched this on me? That's really weird. No, when you paint with white, it takes away from your mask. When you paint with black, you add to your mask. They switched it on me, so if I double click it, color indicates masked area. All right, so if I'm painting with, go to quick mask mode. All right, there it is. Now it's working. That was a bug. No, it's not working. It's working, but it's working opposite than what it's supposed to. If I'm painting with white, it's adding to the mask. Usually it's the opposite way around. You paint with white, it clears the mask. So Adobe changed some things in this new version of Photoshop. So if you want to change it back to the way that you like to work, or you're used to working, double click on the mask, and right here you see the color indicates masked areas. I can go to selected areas instead. Click OK, hit the Q key. So if I paint with white, it'll oh, that's interesting. It's still doing the same. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on? Why is it doing this? Oh, it's my fault. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't in my brush tool. I was in my eraser tool. Yeah, exactly. So, brush tool. Brush. I want the brush. Oops, I don't want to do that. Let's take this back. So there's my brush. Let me get out a quick mask real quick. So here's my brush. There we go. What's going on here? My brush is not resizing now. This is kind of...
Just curious, are you trying to take the entire phone booth out of the, to isolate it, and why wouldn't you want the windows as well?
That's right. So I want to do a better job of isolating this image. All right. I want to do a better job of isolating this image because the color range tool did an okay job, primarily because this is a JPEG, right? Hitting the Q key, bring it through here, and then I can resize this. There we go. I thought it was an Adobe problem. It was just me not paying attention to the tools that I'm in. Right, so you have this option. So I'm just bringing to your attention, you have this option. So you're using your brush to manually select it, eye-hand connection, to isolate this out more effectively. Once you're done, I'm gonna let you guys work. I'm gonna let you guys work on this in just a second. Once you're done, hit the Q key. You have your selection. I'm on my top layer. I'm gonna go over to image menu, adjustments, hue and saturation. And what you're looking at here is your color wheel under the hue. Okay, this is your entire color wheel. So if you take this, or even right down here in the bottom, if you take this strip and wrap it into a circle in the end, it's just a wheel that you're spinning around. And I can take this red and alter it along any color on that color wheel. Right, any color. So to the left, it's going to be cooler colors. To the right, are going to be my warmer colors here. But it's just altering it along the color wheel. So say I want to make it blue, like so. I can play with the saturation. Desaturate it so it's black and white. Or give it intense saturation. Or its lightness. Brightness and richness and darkness of that particular color. All right. So do me a favor. Grab that phone booth. And select. Use the color range to select the red. Get it to select and then alter it to a different color. Just to get a quick little practice here. Then what I'll do is I'll pause the recording. All right, I'm going to resume recording. Here we go. Now here's one that's going to be more of a practical example. This is how I would handle this one, this shirt, professionally. Put the shirt on its own layer. So I'm going to go to my quick selection tool, right? Second one down on the right hand side. And I'm going to select it, like the quick selection, select that shirt. It did a great job. I think overall it did a good job overall. So let me actually come down here to the bottom. The smaller the brush, the less sensitive it's going to be. Remember, this tool is learning. Okay, there we go. And if I take a look at the whole shirt, it looks good. It's got it all selected pretty well. All right, now I'm going to place this shirt on its layer with a Command J. There's the shirt on its own layer. Okay. Now, this is going to be a nice commercial example because the whites have no color in them. So they're not going to be affected with this next technique. So I'm going to go back over to Image Menu, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and alter that color, that shirt. See that? Alter that shirt to any color your client wants you to place it at. So say, for example, it's going to be more of that color there, right? Before and after, before and after. So if it's going to be a commercial job, that's how you would handle it. You place for example, this is a clothing line, and a client wants you to use a particular type of color. And I'm going to show you another example too real quick. I suppose I can use this one of the Excalibur. There we go. All right. So I want to change the red steeples in this case. Command J to get the new layer. I'm also going to utilize, once again, select, color range, and then I'm going to target the reds. Once I target the reds, and now you notice how the mask automatically updates the area that you're actually selecting on. Hit the plus eyedropper and drag across all the other reds in here. Only across the reds. I'll come down here and grab some of these reds, and maybe some of these reds in there. Oops, I accidentally clicked on another area. I didn't want to do that. So I'll go to the minus eyedropper to the right, and I'm going to deselect those out. Or I think it's better just to go to the original eyedropper and just grab the red again, and then go to the plus eyedropper and just drag around. You have to be careful to only select the reds, right? Now I can go to my fuzziness slider, expand it a little bit, or not expand it. Do the best that I can, then click OK. See, now your reds are selected. I think you get the point on this already, now since you worked on the last one. We're just selecting color. Now I want to show you another tool. And I'm going to use the same image. Image menu, adjustment, replace color. Grab it and look at what we have here. We have two features all blended into one tool. We have the color range tool, and we have the hue and saturation tool built into one feature. So up here is a color swatch. This is the color you're going to select. Down here, this is the color you're going to turn it into. So if I come over here with the single eyedropper and target that red, see what happens? It looks for that red everywhere. This is very sensitive. Okay. If I go to the plus eyedropper, oh, this is really bizarre. Why is it selecting the whole image? That's not supposed to happen. Go to the original eyedropper. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Expand it just a little bit. Alright, plus eyedropper. There we go. You see how it's selecting all these other areas? It shouldn't be. That's really very odd.
Why don't you start again with that? You may have selected something along the way.
No.
Start the process again.
I did. I just went to this eyedropper here. If I go cancel, let's cancel this here. Image, adjustment, replace color.
Oh.
All right, I think I know what's happening, but let me check something. I'm going to do something here. All right. Yeah, see it's selected. The red is selected. Now it's turning it into this color, right? If I go to the plus eyedropper here and select more red, see it does it right before your very eyes. So it's working. It's working. It's just not showing me the masking here properly like I thought it would, which is very odd. But it's working. See? Okay, now you try it. See, it works well. The masking is not responding like it should. I gotta find out why. I'm gonna pause the recording. Resume recording. Okay, so on this one, color number 21, I duplicated the layer, Command J. Then I'm gonna go to my image menu, adjustments, replace color. Okay. And now I'm going to go target the color I want to change. I want to change those blues. So I'm going to go target those blues, and up here is the color that I target. Once I clicked on it, whatever color I click on, that's the color that's going to show up here at the top, as well as the bottom. So I target the top one, which is the blues. Now on the bottom, I want to tell it what color to alter to. Now I can come over here and play around with the slider, right? Like so. Or I can click on this and pick the color I want to turn it into. Say like this nice bright green, like so, right? So that's the color I'm going to alter to. So all I need to do now, as you can see, a little bit of it's already changed. So if I go to the plus eyedropper, I can just click on more blues, and you get to see it change right before your eyes. Like that. And you can click and drag it around if you want. Right? And then click OK. Alright? Isn't that cool? Before and after, before and after. It's a nice little visual way. You can see in real time what's going on. I'm going to show you better ways to handle this stuff, but those are some important tools so just to have handy. Go ahead and play with that real quick, and then raise your hand when you're done. So you want to go to an additional color. So I altered the blue to greenish,
Green.
right? So I want to alter the red to blue. So I can just continue to work on this layer if I want to.
Oh.
On that same layer. So I've got the green. Now I want to do the blue to the red. So I can come over here to my image adjustment, replace color, and now just select the red. Come down here.
Oh, you did that. You closed it out and then you reopened it.
That's right. Closed it out and reopened it.
That's why. Okay.
All right. And then this is going to go blue. Oops, sorry. Go grab that again. That's going to go blue. Like that. It's already starting to turn blue. Plus eyedropper. Add it. Add it. And I keep clicking on the other areas that are still red, and it starts to expand.
Right.
You see that?
Yeah.
See how
I
they
made the mistake of not closing that out first.
Right. There you go. See, and it grabs all the other ranges of blues in there, or reds in there, and selects it. See?
Right.
So you got to close it out, reopen it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. All right. All right. Let me. I want to start getting into lighting. I'm gonna go back to the other. I want to save the retouching for next week. We're gonna get into. We're gonna get into cutting out hair. Here, we'll do this. Pull it over here. All right. We're going to get into learning how to cut out hair. Oh, there we go. That's one of my favorite ones there. I'm going to get into retouching next week. But for now, what I'd like to do is I want to talk more about the compositing. So I'm going to I want the pen tools here. How about this? Let's go over to I like that little sky that's going back there. I want to grab one of those little hallway scenes. Let me go back to my compositing class. There we go. All right. I'm going to go grab this one image. Let's double click this one here. And let's go grab one of my people images. It's like a person standing. So I'm gonna go grab that out. People, that was out of the color. That was out of the compositing folder, which is 1 point perspective. Is what it's titled. Then I'm gonna come over down here to my people folder, and I'm gonna grab some people here. I'm gonna grab probably one person out of here. See what have I got here? We got a bunch of different ones up here. So let's go grab this guy right there. So I'm gonna double click and open him up. We'll grab him. A quick way of doing this is probably right here. You see the quick selection tool? Click and hold on it. And there's a tool called Object Selection Tool. And what it's going to do is it's going to do all that work for you. Click and drag around him only. And release. Boom. It does it for you. Object Selection
That's
Tool.
fantastic.
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. 8 years ago, that would have taken hours.
Oh, yeah. And it might still, depending on images. And this is low quality image. So by getting close, you can see it didn't really get his hair very well. It's a really low quality image.
But still, oh my God, that's crazy.
Right. Q key to hit the quick mask, right? Hit your B for your brush. Hit the X to make sure I'm working with black. And I can go ahead and just select these areas up here that the tool couldn't select because it's a real low quality image. So I'm gonna go over here and just isolate this. Look in the rest of his body. Bring the rest of it in there. And I've got some areas in between his arms that did not get selected out. So get in closer. Hit the X key to switch to white. Bring my brush very small. All right, and then just take it out in here. I'm just painting it out very quickly. Bring that brush smaller. Okay. Quick mask, very important. The more you work with it, the faster you're going to get. It's just painting inside the lines. Okay, done. Hit the Q key again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag him into this image here. So I'm going to just pull the tab down, hit the V key for Victor, that's your move tool, and click and drag him into there like this. I don't need this one anymore. Actually, I'll leave it alone. I'll just minimize it. All right. So I'm going to make him a smart object. Have we discussed smart objects yet?
No.
Okay. All right. So let's grab this one for now. I'm going to just delete that one and Command J. I'm going to Command J it twice. Now, when working in any digital manipulation program, there's no mystery to it in terms of the size of your image. Here's our image. We're getting close. We can see lots of detail. It's a medium-sized JPEG. It's not a bad JPEG. We can see all that little detail on the wall there. Now I'm gonna hit Command T to transform this one. Hold the Alt or Op key, or the Alt or Option key, and this allows me to resize toward the center of my photograph. So I'm going to make it really, really small. The client says, I want this really, really small image. Put it in the middle. Oh, the client changed his mind. Make it big again. Command T. Holding Alt or Option. What's happened, guys?
It's remained in small cells.
Yeah, it's remained. Why?
Because I was thinking of donuts.
You changed your pixelation.
That's right. So what?
Your pixel size changed.
That's right. So what's happening is when we reduce the file size down, it physically dropped out all those other pixels. They're gone. You never will get them back. And now when you make them large like this, it's doing what it's doing interpolation. So it's adding more pixels around every pixel until it becomes a size that you as an artist tells it to become, which means you're not getting a true high quality resolution scan anymore. You're getting interpolation. All right, I'm gonna turn this one off, and there's my high quality image again. Now what I want to do is I want the ability to work non-destructively. So to do so, select the layer. On the right hand side of the layer, right click, convert to smart object, and click OK. Now you see a little symbol in the bottom right hand corner which denotes that this is a smart object. Now Command T, Alt Option, make it really small like that. I'll turn off that background so it's not so distracting. Now the client says, you know what? Let's make it big again. Fine. Command T again, hold Alt Option, drag it up. See what happened? It maintained the quality, right? Why is that? Well, let's look at it this way. Let's go ahead. I'm going to transform it a little bit. I'm going to take it, make it smaller, hold down the Command key, and I'm going to kind of, distort this like this. And then I'm going to hit Enter to commit my changes. Okay? Maintain the quality. Now, this image at the top, it's only one image on a layer. Everybody agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's just one image on a layer. This image is not. There's more than one image in this smart object. There's the transformed image, right? There's the transformed image, and then there's the high quality image that's inside that you can't see working on the smart object. Well, we can get in there, right? So I'm gonna get inside to get the original high quality image. I'm gonna go over to the layer icon, double click it, and there's the high quality image, the original. How do I know that one? How do I know that? Windows Arrange Tile Vertically. I got too many of these open, so I'm gonna close these other ones out. Okay. All right. So there they are side by side. Now, I can still work on this high quality image. So if I click on the tab to the right, you see the single layer for the high quality image. If I click on the tab to the left here, you get to see my transformed image with the additional layers. I'm going to change this one. Let's go over here, and I'm going to make a new layer right above, and I'm going to paint in that layer. So I'm going to go to my foreground color, and I'm going to change it to something like blue. I'm also going to change the layer blend mode so I can tint this image. So I'm going to change the layer blend mode. We're going to get more into layer blend modes in intermediate class, but it's up here where it says normal. Drop it down, and I'm going to go to color at the very bottom. Hit the B key for the brush. And over here, pull this on over. I'm going to take my brush. Blue is the foreground color. Hit the B for brush. And I'm going to paint blue over his face. Now, that layer blend mode of color maintains the black and white pixels, but tints the medium gray pixels to the color of your choosing. All right, so I essentially just painted his face blue. Now, let's do his hands also. I'll go ahead and do his hands as well. All right. Now here's where it gets fun. It's non-destructive. I'm painting. I'm making all of my edits in a separate layer up here. Right. I wanted to show up over in my transform layer. Very, very simple. Command S for save. See, it automatically updated.
Oh, wow.
It's powerful workflow. Okay. I can close this out if I'm done, and I can always go back in and edit it, right? By double clicking on the smart object, and it came back. All right. So if I decide to come over here, now let's go back. There it is right there. I mean, this white, that little white areas back here. I'm going to change those now. I'm going to go back to this smart object, and I can make a new layer. Now I'm going to make a new layer just for these white areas up here, but I'm going to change that. Now new layer is also going to be color. I'm going to tint it with the color. And I'm going to change the color to something like green. Make a bigger brush. And I'm going to tint that green up there. All right. Now, actually, I'm going to do all that green back down here like this. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Command S. Command W to close that out. And see? Powerful stuff.
Are each of the layers that you're duplicating all smart objects, or only the one layer?
The only layers that are smart object are the layers with that symbol in the bottom right hand corner.
Right. But I only see one smart, or the other two are not smart.
That's
objects.
correct. The other two are not smart objects. If I turn on the one on the top, that's the blurred out interpolated one.
Gotcha.
Is that making sense? So this one is not a smart object. So I'm going to let's go back to my tutorial. I'm going to close this out. Here's my guy in his own layer. Once I put the guy on his own layer, I don't want to manipulate him yet. I want to make him a smart object. But before I make him a smart object, we need to make one quick little modification. What do you think that modification is?
Size?
Nope. Well, that's one of them. What's the other?
Resolution.
Well, not resolution.
Placing them on the surface.
Look at the lighting on his body.
Yeah, it's reversed.
It's not the light.
There we go. It's reversed. So the lighting's coming from the left. On him, it's coming from the right. So the lighting's wrong. We got to match our lighting. To do so, edit menu, transform, flip horizontal or vertical. You take your pick, but we want to flip horizontal. Boom. See? Does that make sense?
Trickery.
That's right, trickery. So
why do you want to do that before you make it a smart object?
Because I don't want to deal with layer masking yet. I want you to cut out your object, get it cut out using selections first, and then when you're done, then make it a smart object. Because now you've got transparent pixels all around them, and you can place them wherever you want. So once he's in here, I think what I'll do is go right click on the right hand side, create smart object or convert to smart object, and now it's a smart object. And now I can go to Command T and just make him larger.
Ah,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
So you get your object looking like get all the background removed first, then make them a smart object. So in other words, you don't distort them, you don't transform them. Just knock out the background, get it looking exactly the way you want it, then make him a smart object. Now I'm gonna show you another trick.
So it's
Yeah, go ahead.
so it's really a question. It's really a question of how much work do you want to do before and when you're in smart objects. Save yourself a lot of hassle by doing certain work before you make a smart object. Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, you're right, but maybe no depending on what you're doing. Right? The workflow may change for something else that you're doing. But
Right.
overall, you're right. That's correct. So here's this guy. The lighting on him is probably a little bit. It can use a little more shading over here to this right hand side, right? Because it's a pretty harsh lighting. So these shadows over here can be a little bit richer. So I'm going to apply levels to this. Now watch what happens. It's a smart object, right? Image, adjustment, levels. Remember levels?
Histogram.
All right. Remember this? Remember the eyedropper technique? Target the black eyedropper. Probably go to the richer, darker side and click it. Now that might be too strong. But if I go to the white eyedropper and click on the light side of his face, yeah, that's too strong. It may not. Using the eyedropper technique won't work for this. So I'm going to cancel that out. And I'm going to do it again. Image, adjustment, levels. So just go to the levels right down here in the bottom. So I want the right side to be richer. I want a little richer shadow. There we go. And maybe make the highlights just a little brighter like so. There we go. And click OK. Look at what happened. Because you have a non-destructive smart object, now we get what's called smart filters. Now the levels becomes non-destructive. Because the layer is non-destructive, the levels become non-destructive. So I can click the eyeball off and the levels off before and after, before and after. So if I need to go back and redo the levels again, double click on the word levels and it comes back with your last settings applied. Isn't that powerful?
Mm-hmm.
So everything becomes non-destructive now. So now we need to put the shadow in here, right? So I'm going to do it this way. Make a brand new layer. That layer is going to be the shadow.
So once you're in a smart object layer, when you dupe, they all become levels of a smart object.
Right. They become what's called smart filters.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So the smart filters are now non-destructive.
Cool. Yeah.
It gets better as we get on to the intermediate and advanced class. It gets better and better and better.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen people with like 100 layers, and they're very subtle things in each layer, and then they bring it out, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. So now I want to make a shadow that matches his body. So what I'll do is I'm going to make a selection of his body. Anything that's on the layer with transparent pixels around it, we can make a selection of that object on that layer. You do so by holding down the Command or Control key in your keyboard and then click and release on your layer. And you can see the marching ants around him. Now we're going to make it black. Now keep in mind we're in the shadow layer now. We're going to fill this with black. Edit menu, fill. Fill with what? For the contents, fill with black. And then click OK. That's going to be basically my shadow. Alright, now I'm going to hit Command D for deselect. My shadow is on top of my guy, but that's okay for now. Now, what you could do, we won't do it for this one, but you could make it a smart object, but we won't make it a smart object for the shadow layer. We'll go ahead and hit Command T for free transform. Now, if you go up to your edit menu, transform, distort. Take this first eyedropper, but this dot up here, and just bring it over to the side. Right? So this is going to be a little tricky. So I'm going to just kind of bring it like something like this. Alright, this is going to come something like this, straight across. If you take a look at this pole here, where the sunlight's hitting with a shadow, it comes all the way across, then it hits the wall and it comes straight up. You see that? So his legs are going to come all the way across. I'm going to kind of match this here. And we're going to match the angle of the shadows in the background. And the legs are probably going to come to here. I'm going to hit enter. Now, I'm going to go over to my polygonal lasso tool. And I'm going to cut it off down here at the bottom. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections and masks are exactly the same. Now I'm going to take this one, Command T. Now I can go to Edit menu, Distort, or I can hold down the Control or Command key. And we're going to bring it up the wall like so. So this has got to match the perspective of that wall. Let's bring this on over here. Go down and put them together like so. Pull this out like so. And you see the wall. Look at the edges of your square here, your frame here. It should match the perspective of the scene. So these lines, see, these lines are going to follow that top of that wall. Just as the bottom All right, and I might rotate this a little bit like so, but hit enter. Hit the V key. Just kind of move it into place like so. Okay. That's not quite right, but because we need to match, because these lines, the shadow needs to be coming straight up and down, right? So Command T again. Distort, and just there we go. I can't do this one. I'm going to have to bring it straight up, but allow this to come out. Something like this. Okay, now we're going to modify this. Now, you need to modify this because go to your brush tool. Make sure your foreground color is black. Because we need to modify it so it actually looks like it's coming from this leg here. So this coming down to here. This may be kind of closed up like so. Now, take the layer, the shadow layer, put it underneath my guy. Boom, see? Now you can start to kind of anticipate where this shadow should fall. And you're going to erase away a lot of this here. So E key for the eraser tool. See? This needs to be up
So
against.
as long as you're in your smart object layer and levels layers, you
I'm
don't
not.
need command
I-
anymore. You just can hit V and
I'm not.
E and
I'm not
whatnot.
in my smart object layers. Look at your questions telling me that you're not paying attention to layers. I'm not in smart
Levels,
objects
I'm
layer.
sorry.
All right, I'm in a regular layer. My smart object is my guy. There's a symbol for the smart object.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm painting in a regular layer so that I can utilize my paint tools. So I'm just coming in here and just connecting it to its feet like so. Okay, and then from here is where it gets really fun. None of your shadows are hard edge. They're very soft. So I'm going to come over here, go to Filter menu, Blur, Gaussian Blur. See? Then I'm going to bring down the opacity of the layer. There it is. This should really be coming up higher, by the way. So if I come down, hit my lasso tool, and just grab this top layer because, oops, sorry. Let's go to the regular lasso tool and just grab this top layer here. All right. Command T. And I can just push it up like so. There. Hit Enter, Command D. See? It's a sloppy job on my part. I mean, if I want to enhance the fact that the right side of his body is falling into the shadow, this is what you're going to do. My object, my guy is here, right? Select the guy. Make a new layer on top of him. Now, if I start to paint on that layer, I'm going to paint across his body and the background because the layer is sitting on top of everything, right? Hold down the Alt key, put your mouse in between your top layer and your guy, and you're going to get that symbol. White rectangle with a down arrow. Left click. See how the contents in your top layer will be restricted. Oops, sorry. The contents in your top layer will be restricted only to his body. It's called a clipping path. I'm gonna hit Command A to select all, and then D and then delete on my keyboard. So I'm going to paint in this layer, but I'm going to change the blend mode for the shading. I'm going to call this one shading. I'm going to change the blend mode to multiply so that the color is going to come through nicely. Nice soft edge brush. And I'm going to make sure I'm painting with my pressure sensitivity. There we go, it's turned on. Now all I'm going to do is I can even bring the opacity down to 50% or less, and then I can just add a little bit of shading just to the right side of its body. So it looks like that's being shaded, and that's the side where the shadow's coming from. Go to his face, add a little more shading there. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. Before, after. And I can probably do this. Oops. Go.
Would you have another layer if you wanted to deal with the highlights on the other side of him, or do it all
Good
the same?
thinking. Make a new layer on top of that one. Make it a clipping path to the one below it, right? So it continues to just outline the subject. This layer, we're going to change it to, I suppose we can change it to overlay. We'll go to overlay. I'm going to sample the brightness of his skin, hold the Alt key, which gives me the sampling tool. Wherever I click, it's going to give me a comparison color to my background color, which is on the bottom. Okay. I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay because anything that I paint that's brighter, it's going to make them brighter. Right? So if let me go to 100% opacity here. See?
Yeah.
I'm just overdoing it just to make my point.
Then if you hated everything you just did, you can go back to the smart object and start over again.
Well, but remember, guys, we're putting these in their own layers up here. You don't need to go back to smart object. Just turn off these top layers. They're all in separate layers.
Right. Well, yeah. Sorry.
Non-destructive.
You still have the smart layer.
Right. The smart object is by itself. Right.
Yeah.
You're never touching the smart object because it's in non-destructive mode. Your questions are still telling me you're not watching your layers. Look at your layers. It's all in front of you. Everything's non-destructive.
Well, I guess what I'm getting to is once you've done all that you want to do,
right?
Then you're going to take it all back and into the smart layer or back into the regular.
Well, no, you keep all your layers and you can leave them alone. If you want to print it, then you merge them.
Yeah.
Hamburger menu. Flatten image. Right? So the whole idea is that you keep everything in their layers because your client's going to make changes.
Right.
Right. So if I want to do an effect, like I'm not going to do it now because it's past time already. I want sun rays to come through these bars and it's kind of spilling over to the right hand side. I can put those sun rays in there now in a separate layer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is that making sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so homework. And I want no more excuses on homework here. This is like the fourth week coming up here. So I want you to create a concept to tell a story. I want a minimum of a composite of 10 different images to build something creative. So I've given you a little bit more information about lighting and color balancing so that everything looks like it was shot with a single camera. We've talked about smart objects to give you flexibility to resize images. So I want you to utilize everything you've learned tonight. Okay? So 10 separate images in their own layers, and to tell a story. So think about your concept. Think about what your primary point of focus is going to be. Okay? Any questions?
Well, when you say 10 objects, are you talking about layers and whatnot, like this picture here and what you've done, or are you talking about 10 guys?
No, I'm talking
In
about
some,
this picture and what I'm done. When I told you to create a concept, that automatically tells you as an artist use layers to create that concept. I'm not telling you to take 10 separate photographs and do something. I'm saying take 10 separate photographs, find something in those photographs, cut it out, and bring it into composite one piece to tell a story. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I want you to create something. Don't give me bullshit. Give me something cool that's telling a story. Like, I'll give you an example. Okay. All this is done with layers to create a concept. This is done with layers. This is my site here to create a concept. Layers, lighting effects, sun rays to tell a story. Right? I want you to learn to use your layers as if you're using musical notes on a score to build a symphony. Okay? Let me look up concept art here. Okay? Let's go to images. Okay? All of this stuff that you see here is digital painting. It's using Photoshop and layers to tell a story. That's what I want you to do. Very similar to what Dan did in his homework assignment. But now I want you guys to be a little more sophisticated. I want you to pay strict attention to your lighting, your color balance, and your shading and shadow. Take a look at, was this one here? Taking further to come. Take a look at the lighting here. How as things get closer to you, the more contrast you're going to gain. As things get further away, the softer and less contrast and the more hazy your lighting becomes. Think about that in whatever you create. The same concept here. Things come close to you, they're sharp and detailed. The further stuff in the back gets more hazy, and less saturated. The same thing here too. See, it doesn't matter what art you look at. It's all the same rules. Photoshop or no Photoshop. Photoshop, painting, drawing, compositing. It's all the same rules. So pull something together, think about what you want to do, and you can shoot this week if you want to. You want fresh images. And I'm still can't remember that damn website, Concept Art. Textures.com, I remembered. There it is. It's free. So, for example, animals. Wow, look at all the animals. It's free for personal and commercial use. Say, for example, you want that animal there. So, click it, and it takes you to category to download any type of animal or composition that you might want to use. And it allows you to download the small and the medium size free with your free account. The limitation is that you only get so much a day. If you max out your limit on the first day, then you just have to wait to the next day to download more. Elephant. You got the elephant skin for textures, or the full elephant. How about skyscrapers? I misspelled it, didn't I? Let's try plaster ornaments landscapes. Or clouds. See, now here's something here. Clouds on a transparent layer right there. See, those clouds would have been great for your moon. And you download this and you're getting it like a Photoshop layer. All right, so I'm excited to see what you guys bring next week. Have fun with it. More importantly, have a lot of fun with it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.